At this time, it is my honor to announce our keynote speaker, Dr. Angélica Gutiérrez. She earned her BA in Political Science from the University of UCLA, her MPP from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and her PhD from the UCLA Anderson School of Management. Because of her community leadership and her contributions, she has been recognized as one of 10 next-generation Latinas and one of 20 Latinas of influence. But most importantly, she is a graduate of Sacred Heart High School. Please help me welcome Dr. Angélica Gutiérrez.
Thank you, Geraldine, for that lovely introduction. It's truly an honor to be here with all of you tonight. Next year, it'll be exactly 20 years ago that I was sitting where you guys are sitting. But we'll pretend it's only been 5, okay? Everybody has to know it's been 20. Before I formally address the graduates, I do have to tell you, ladies, that you look absolutely stunning. I'm so excited for you. Absolutely lovely. But before I formally address you, I would like to just take a very brief moment to recognize the parents, relatives, and friends who are here with our graduates tonight. I just want to personally thank you for the support that you have provided our graduates. And I do want to let you know that you have done an absolutely incredible job with them. They are among the smartest and the sweetest young women that I have ever met. And God knows I've met thousands and thousands of students throughout the United States. But none of those students compare to the graduates that we have here tonight. So congratulations to all of you on a job well done. Antes de dirigirme a las graduadas, quiero tomar un breve momento para reconocer el esfuerzo de los padres, de los familiares y todas las amistades que se encuentran con nosotros esta noche. Quiero decirles que ustedes han hecho un excelente trabajo con ellas. Les doy las gracias de todo corazón por todo el apoyo que les han brindado y les quiero decir que estas muchachas son las más inteligentes, las más lindas que he conocido, y vaya que he conocido varios alumnos en los Estados Unidos, así que los quiero felicitar a todos ustedes por hacer un excelente trabajo con ellas. Graduates, this evening I want to talk to you about how you have exactly what you need for the journey that you are about to embark on. You have the right traits, you have the right gifts, you have the right talents. You have absolutely everything that you will need for your journey. And I know that because despite any challenges or hardships that you may have encountered throughout high school or before high school, you did everything that it took to be here tonight and graduate. I know that by the time that I was sitting where you're sitting, as I mentioned earlier 20 years ago, I had already experienced abandonment. As some of you may already know, my father left when I was only 7 years old. I had also experienced great loss. I had experienced the death of my grandmother and the death of my aunt, who I was very close to. And I had also experienced financial hardships because my mother, as a single mom, she's always been very supportive, but she definitely struggled a lot to provide my brother and to provide me with the basic necessities and to provide us with a good education. So it's very likely that you also experienced your share of challenges and obstacles. Perhaps you experienced some loss. Perhaps you lost a loved one or experienced the loss of a relationship. Perhaps you suffered illness. Perhaps one of your family members became ill, or you personally became ill, or experienced some type of physical impediment. Perhaps you also experienced some type of financial hardship. But despite those challenges and hardships, you did everything that it took to be here tonight, and that tells me that you certainly have everything that it takes to accomplish anything that you set your mind to. You have the right traits. Other people have what they need for their journey, and you certainly have what you need for your journey. Be careful that as you go through your journey, you don't develop what I call the don't-cha syndrome. It's really don't you, but don't-cha was the title of a song by the Pussycat Dolls. How many of you have heard it? For those of you that haven't heard the song, the girl's telling the guy, don't ya wish your girlfriend was hot like me? Don't ya wish your girlfriend was fun like me? And sometimes it's very easy for us to develop this don't ya syndrome. We may look to other people and think to ourselves, don't I wish I had her talents? Or I wish I had her skills? Or I wish I had her gifts? Or I wish I were as pretty as she is? Or I wish I were as smart as she is? But the reality is, you have exactly what you need. If you had what they have, it wouldn't help you, it would actually hinder you along your journey because you're fully equipped with everything that you'll need. There was a movie that came out in 2011 called The Help. And in that movie, there was a character by the name of Aibileen, played by Viola Davis. And she was responsible for raising various children. And she used to tell them what I'm about to tell you, which is, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. You definitely have what you need. And in addition to having those incredible qualities, you also have three very important capacities. You have the capacity to identify your purpose. And one of the best ways to identify your purpose is to keep an open mind. And as you receive various opportunities along your journey, I encourage you to explore those opportunities, even if these are opportunities that perhaps you hadn't considered in the past. When you go off to college, I highly encourage you to take classes outside of your major, outside of your discipline, because you may find that your passion and your true purpose lies outside of whatever it is that you're currently majoring in. So I encourage you to keep an open mind. I remember sitting where you're sitting about 20 years ago, and something came over me. I decided to have a conversation with God. Not out loud, but I decided to have a conversation with Him in my heart. And I remember being pretty bold. I remember telling God, check this out. These are going to be my plans. I remember telling Him, when I get to UCLA, I'm going to major in political science, which I did. And then I'm going to go directly to law school, which I never did. And after that, check this out, God, I'm going to go ahead and work for a couple years at a law firm, which I never did. And after that, I'm going to run for office, which who knows if I ever will in the future, but right now I don't have those plans. Now, as the saying goes, if you want to hear God laugh, tell Him your plans. Well, I can just imagine He must have been having a good laugh that night with me. I can just imagine Him looking down on me, telling me, you know what, your purpose is actually a lot greater than you can possibly imagine at this point. So I highly encourage all of you to keep an open mind as you go along your journey, because I know that each of you are destined to fulfill an incredible purpose. And the only way you're going to be able to identify it is by keeping an open mind. One of the questions that I often get from various students that I talk to, including my own students at LMU, is they often ask me, Professor Gutierrez, how exactly will I know that I've identified my true purpose in life? And I tell them what I'm about to share with you, which is, you may actually have multiple purposes in life. But one way of knowing that you have identified one of your true purposes is if you find yourself in a position where you're doing the work that you absolutely love and that you would be very willing to do for free. If money were not an issue, it's that work that you would be willing to do for free. And that's certainly how I feel about serving as a business professor. I would be willing to do it for free. Just make sure you guys don't tell the dean of the business school at LMU said that, because I still have bills to pay and I can use that salary. But I encourage you to exercise your capacity to identify your purpose by keeping an open mind. You also have the capacity to leverage your passion. Throughout your journey, I can tell you this because I have definitely experienced my share. Throughout your journey, you will definitely have a lot of highs, but you will also experience many lows. You may find yourselves in situations where you're just overwhelmed with self-doubt. When you go off to college, don't be surprised if you ever start wondering if you're going to have what it takes to fulfill your dreams. But during those lows, during those moments of self-doubt, I highly encourage all of you to really leverage your passion. Dig deep inside and remind yourselves of the reasons that you're pursuing a certain path in the first place. Are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it for your community? Are you doing it because you want to positively impact people's lives? Are you doing it because you want to leave your legacy on this earth? Those reasons will help you get through those lows because they'll definitely be there. And I'll share something very personal. I find it quite interesting that when I meet people or I get emails from various individuals, they often tell me, wow, it's really cool that you have a PhD in business. Wow, it's awesome that you're already a business professor and that you're at a great university. And I think it is wonderful, but I'll share with you something that nobody shares in public. But I want to be very sincere with you. The truth is that even at this stage that I'm in, I still feel insecure sometimes. I still have moments where I feel overwhelmed with self-doubt. And I still wonder if I'm going to have what it takes to fulfill my next dream. And nobody will share that with you, but I'm sharing this with you so that when you find yourselves in those situations in the future, you'll remember this conversation and you'll know that it's absolutely normal to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with you, but definitely know that you'll get through those low moments. And one of the ways to do so is to really remind yourselves why you're pursuing a certain path in the first place. And if you ever meet individuals who tell you, oh, I never experienced self-doubt, or if people ever tell you, I never wonder if I'm going to have what it takes to achieve my dreams, it's probably, very likely, that it's because they're living down here when they could be stretching themselves a little bit more and aspiring for something so much greater. So just know that experiencing self-doubt is definitely normal. But as Frederick Beachhead once said, I should modify it, she who has a why can bear almost any how. So I encourage you to definitely rely on those whys to get you through those difficult moments. And last, you also have the capacity to persevere in the face of adversity. As you go through your journey, you'll experience a lot of challenges. But trust that you have the capacity to keep going forward no matter what may come your way. Along your journey, you'll hear a lot of yeses, but you'll also hear some no's. You may apply for a position in the future or a promotion that you really, really want, but for some reason you might not get it. Or you may apply to a university, perhaps a master's program or a PhD program, and perhaps you might get rejected. It's also possible that you might be aspiring for something in particular and you may get turned down. But during those moments, you have the capacity to process those no's differently. You can take the no's as a no, or you can interpret those no's as a not right now, but let me regroup, let me re-strategize, and try again. Okay? When I was last talking to you back in September, I shared with you a couple of high-profile examples of people that have persevered and processed no's very differently. Now, I do want to say that in some circumstances, you should definitely process a no as a no. You may have heard, I should definitely include those examples, right? You have probably heard from your parents at some point, I told you no, what part of no did you not understand? I'm sure we all heard that at some point growing up. In my case, it was, te dije que no entendiste. So we do know that no means no in virtually any language, right? And you should definitely process a no as a no in the personal arena. So let's say, for example, you're dating, okay? Let's say there's somebody that you really, really like, and I can't imagine this ever happening to you ladies or you ladies, but let's say for some reason they turn you down or they're not interested. In that situation, definitely process that no as a no and go on, right? There's no reason for you to waste any precious time on somebody that is not going to recognize your worth. I'll just go ahead and put it out there. So no means no in that situation. But in the professional arena, definitely process those no's differently. I gave you a couple of examples. High-profile example of someone who has persevered in the face of adversity is Sonia Sotomayor. She's only the third female appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. She's the first Latina appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. But when she was only 7 years old, she was diagnosed with adolescent diabetes. So she had to inject into herself insulin shots just to survive. But despite that challenge, she persevered and she has become very successful. Another example, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She went to 12 different publishers and they all rejected her. They all told her, you know what? Harry Potter's not gonna make any money. We're not gonna publish your book. It's a children's book. You're better off just keeping your full-time job and taking care of your young child. It wasn't until the 13th publisher that took a shot and said, okay, we'll go ahead and publish this Harry Potter book, but it's probably not gonna make any money. She's another prime example of someone who processed those no's, those rejections differently. She processed those no's as a fine. Those are 12 people who are not willing to publish it, but I'm sure I'm going to get my yes eventually, and she persevered, highly successful. Another example, Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg applied to the USC Film School and got rejected twice. He got turned down. Steven Spielberg was rejected from USC. So what did he do? He also persevered. He ended up going to Cal State Long Beach to get his degree in film. And the rest is history, right? He persevered and has become very successful. Tonight, I present to you perhaps one of the greatest examples of someone who has persevered in the face of adversity. And that's each of you, the graduates who are here tonight. Because despite any challenges, despite any hardships that you may have encountered, you did everything that it took to be here tonight. And I applaud you for that. It's a huge accomplishment. So I conclude by reaffirming that you have exactly what you need for the journey that you are about to embark on. You have the capacity to identify your purpose. You have the capacity to leverage your passion. You have the capacity to persevere in the face of adversity. And perhaps most importantly, you are smart, you are kind, you are very important, and you are fully equipped for the journey that you are about to embark on. Congratulations, class of 2014.